Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel of Jimmy is Promo. Today we'll be doing a installation and review of the Whitestone Dome Glass tempered glass for the Galaxy Note 10 Plus, but you are able to get the exact same one for the smaller regular Galaxy Note 10. So in today's video, we'll go through the installation process. I'll give you my tips and tricks, as well as go through some different tests, which is the touch sensitivity, also the S Pen sensitivity, and also case friendliness. Now, I've gone through and I've scratched these with the past glasses, but they all pretty much scratch at the exact same resistance, and as long as you're not going to put it on the road and slide it against asphalt, you're going to be perfectly fine. So the first step to do is to take off the protective film on the Galaxy Note 10 or the Note 10 Plus. Now for me, I've kept this little protective film on there for ever since the moment I got the Galaxy Note 10 Plus, and so it's been sitting on there for the past 2 or 3 weeks, and it's done a fantastic job protecting it so far. But again, it's just a little film. It's basically saran wrap on the top of the phone, and this is what really protects your device. Now, I always suggest to use cases to protect you from drops, but you want to use a tempered glass to prevent any type of crackage, because this one will crack first. So don't use any type of films, don't use any type of liquid screen protection. It might make it a little bit stronger, but the moment it breaks, it is your glass that is breaking, not this layered tempered glass. All right, let's open this up and let's see the contents. So here's the entire contents of that box. It kind of looks like a lot, but it really isn't. So you could be maybe a little intimidated, but once you've done this once or twice, it's really not that bad. There's a few added pieces with this set versus the past Whitestone Dome glasses, but there's a few of them I use and a few that I don't. So first off is going to be your screen protector. You can see that there is a cutout right over there for your camera. And I do like that because some of the other knockoff versions of this that is, a Chinese brand on Amazon's is full screen, but I'm not a huge fan of that. Really easily able to be smudged as well as scratched. You also have your UV light. This one is super nice. I did do a third-party, cheaper Chinese knockoff of this for a friend on her phone, and I'll show it right now. It's a full screen tempered glass, but the UV light that came with it was so bad that I used contents from this packaging here, and there is no aligning with some of those that are about $30 to $40. You might as well go with the Whitestone Dome Glass. You're paying only $10 to $13 more at $50, but you get all of this that makes it more simple than trying to do one of those cheaper knockoffs. Then here is some dust stickers to pull off any dust right before you put on the tempered glass. Here's the pin, which you'll see what that is used for here in just a second. You have a couple liquid absorption pads. This is one of those things that I don't use with the installation just because I'm afraid it might pull too much of the Loca or the liquid adhesive away from the phone, creating bubbles inside the glass, and so I don't really use this one at all. What I do use at the end will be your wet wipes, and so this is what I use to wipe everything down and also absorb a little bit of that extra Loca that's sitting around the edge versus something that is absorbing everything. I hope that made sense. So those other pieces I don't use. So here is your wet wipes. Here's the microfiber wipes. This is your liquid adhesive. This is basically your Loca. This is the bridge that sits in the middle, which you'll see how that is used in a minute. This is something that's brand new with the set. This is a way that you're able to weight down the screen protector, but also an indicator letting you know and when to pull that pull pin on the top. So when your phone is slanted, because this base right here moves, so when you have the liquid adhesive, you push down, it's gonna pull down, you pull this pin, and then this is gonna weight it and let you know when to pull it. It's really simple, it's really cool once you actually see it in action. Here's a suction cup. This is something that I also don't use with this one. I feel like I would mess it up, or I don't know, you'll see what I mean. But with this one, you can use it if you like. This is to place on the tempered glass onto the phone and also release it, but I would rather not have something that is just so much more force than a small slight finger push or move. So this is actually something that I don't use with the installation. And these are actually little stickers that you can place onto the top of the phone, which can block your speaker grill, but because it's so small in the Galaxy Note 10 series, I'm afraid that I would actually push this too low, and then now there's a portion of the screen that is not getting Loca or the adhesive, so these ones I also don't use. The amount of liquid inside of these containers are perfect for how much is actually supposed to be used. Now, if there is a little bit of excess loca, then you'd be able to use any of these microfiber wipes or the wet wipes. Here is the guide, all of the information to basically use your dome glass. It also lets you know to go through your settings before you install to turn on the touch sensitivity inside of display on the Galaxy Note 10 Plus. Now, the touch sensitivity on this one is fantastic. If you want to turn it on, you can, but you almost don't have to, because this is one of those tempered glass screen protectors that still works with your fingerprint reader and everything else. And then here is your base. This is the base, and you also have the top. So now let's go through, now that I've explained everything, now let's actually go through the process. So the first step is to use your wet wipe just to clean everything on the top, any fingerprint smudges or just anything that's sitting there. This is where you use the microfiber wipe. Make sure that there's no pieces of spit, no dust, no fingerprints, no smudges, no nothing, because that will interfere with the loca. And then from here, the additional step is just use the little dust sticker just to make sure that nothing has landed on the phone after the microfiber wipe. Now, one pro tip is make sure that you don't place your fingerprint smudge on the main portion of the sticker, because that will leave residue on the screen. When the phone looks good, this is where you want to place on the top, and you'll know it's correct when it actually fits into place, does not move, and it says Note 10 Plus on the top left-hand side. Now from here, you can take this pull pin, you can place it right through the very top. This is what's going to hold your tempered glass above the screen just for a second. And then now you're going to place your bridge right over the phone into the slots. This is where you want to go through the colored portion of the liquid adhesive, place it into the little hole, open up by taking off basically the black portion, and you can see how it all fell onto the screen as well. Now, once everything has dropped onto the phone, it takes probably about 10-12 seconds. Just make sure that everything is out and dripped out. Usually I just place the cap back on. Carefully move this one out of the way. Now, once you have a huge blob, just make sure that it does not move. You also want it to be pretty much in the center of everything. You want to do it on a flat surface. And then from here, you can pull off the pull tab of your screen protector. This is the point where it states that you can use that little suction cup. But now you just want to place this one down and lay it right over where the pull pin is. And once it's basically level on the bottom, from here, what you'll do is you're going to take your weighted piece, you're going to place it inside of this slot right there. You can see that the liquid adhesive is still there. Now what's going to happen is you're going to push down on this end. As this moves down into the circle, then that is the moment where you actually pull this little pin. So you can see it's still pretty much in the middle. I'm going to lift it just a little bit, make it go just a little bit faster. Pull the pin, and you can see that it is now spreading across the phone. Now this is a very important portion of this video. So you can see just a little bit, you can see how it's kind of still moving right over here. I don't have the best lighting. You can kind of see it right over here as well. This is where you wait for about 2 minutes. You want to make sure that every single area of this entire glass is completely filled. So you can see how it's almost going to the top right over here. Let's see, I can't really get the best lighting on this one. I don't want to mess up the adhesives, but basically you can see it in person. You can still see right over there. It's still going to the very edge. You want to make sure that every single portion you can see is completely filled. So after closer inspection, looking at everything on the phone, every single corner, every single spot has been touched with the Loca. Now you're going to take off the weighted piece. You're going to go with your UV light and put it at the top of the phone. And what I do is I always have it, sitting right there all the way up until the light actually turns off. Then I'll move it to the center, do the exact same thing, and put it at the bottom, do the exact same thing, hitting the button once until it turns off. Now this is one more important step, which is once you are done with the light, take off your top, take the phone out. Don't do it anymore inside of that little casing shell. From here, you just want to inspect, again, just to make sure that everything is covered along the corners and the tops and the sides, bottoms, everywhere. So this one is looking perfect. Any of these little pieces was just for me. And so now this is where you want to wipe off any of that little additional Loca. So you want to go through, wipe off the back, wipe off the corners, and then once you're finished with that, then you'll be able to do just a little bit bit more of the UV light. Now this is just making sure that, you know, your phone is not going to be sticky, and you don't want to, you know, cure any of the loca that doesn't need to be cured. So now I'm just going to go through, I'm going to cure it one more time. This is where you cure it top, middle, bottom for the duration of the light. So now that everything looks good, we are good to go. There is no bubbles, there's nothing wrong with this one. That's why I love the Whitestone Dome Glass kit. It just makes sure that everything is done perfectly. Now let's turn on the phone. We're gonna go through with a touch test. We'll also go through a S Pen sensitivity test, as well as testing other cases, and they're all gonna be different types of cases. This one will be the OtterBox clear case. This one's gonna be the Samsung Folio flip case. Make sure everything works well there. We also have a additional case over here from Scooch, and then we will be doing another one, which is a two-piecer. So this way you guys can see that this will also work if you happen to buy a case that has two pieces, with this additional piece kind of going over the phone. I'll make sure that you guys know and can see that it's also compatible with that. Inside of the Samsung diagnostic test, we're gonna go inside of the touch sensitivity. So I'm just gonna use the tip of my finger, just kind of scroll on through the very middle, and everything looks good there. Now, in order to really get out of this test, you have to touch all of the squares that goes around the edge, and then also that X through the middle. So everything is looking good. I'm really trying to touch this as light as I can. So, and I didn't even go through with the you know, additional touch sensitivity setting just yet. So this one is working perfectly fine. Now let's head over into the S Pen test. Now we'll first do the one for hovering. Now you don't want to touch the screen, because the moment you actually touch the screen with the S Pen, it's going to say fail, and then you have to use your volume keys to get out. But really for this one, I just want to make sure that everywhere around the phone is good, and in order for you to get out of this test, you just want to highlight all of these little rectangles. So hovering is perfectly fine. Now let's go inside of the S Pen draw, and so right here I'm just going to go through the middle, and there's no opening gates, there's nothing that is showing any type of issues. Let's go along the corners. Now usually when it comes down to some of these tempered glass, sometimes it's the corners and the top that could give you a little bit of grief. But it looks like this one is working perfectly fine. If there's a little portion of a square that's not being turned green, it's because I slightly miss it right there. So yeah, this one's looking perfectly fine for the touch and S Pen sensitivity. So now that we are done with this one, how about let's head over and let's test out a few different cases now that we've done the touch and S Pen sensitivity. Now, after all of that is said and done and installed, I did get done shooting this video a few hours ago, but I wanted to come back and make sure you got two more pieces of additional information to make sure everything is running at its peak performance. So earlier I stated really fast that you can change the touch sensitivity. So here is the settings for that. If you go inside of your settings on the top right hand side, and then go underneath where it says display, because it is dealing with the display. Scroll down and you'll see the option here that you can toggle on for touch sensitivity. It'll increase the touch sensitivity of the screen for use with screen protectors. Now the other thing you might want to do is go inside of your settings and scroll on down to your biometrics and security. Now inside of here, you might want to go underneath your fingerprints, and you can reset this back up with something that is a brand new scan with this new additional layer of glass. And so you can see here I have one profile that's saved, and it's actually titled as both, and that's because I set it up with both of my thumbprints being on one profile. So let's just say that you want to go through and set it up with only one thumb, which is probably what some people would suggest to do, but you are able to put both thumbs on here with 50% with your left and 50% with your right. But for this little demonstration, I'm just going to do it with the right thumb. So I would suggest doing 3 of them, however you hold the phone. And so once you've done that, that's probably the primarily way that you are unlocking the phone. Then give it a little bit of a rotation. So just kind of go around and just put in the fingerprints at different areas, different angles. And then also I too suggest to put it on a table, because sometimes you might be at lunch or dinner or whatever the case. You could be at your office and you're trying to unlock your phone as it's sitting, you know, on a table. So you just want to go through and touch it. Now I'm not touching any harder. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it. So my touch sensitivity with this is just perfect. Once you're done, you hit on done, and I'm going to rechange this over into right, because this is my right thumb profile. So other than that, that's really about it. I wanted to make sure that you guys were to reset up a fingerprint or maybe add one in. Really, you didn't have to. This both was already there before I put the screen protector on, and it's worked perfectly fine. You don't have to do the touch sensitivity increase, but again, it could probably help you out as well too. Moving the camera out just a little bit, I'm going to show you what it looks like when you do use a couple different cases. So let's turn the screen off, push it on the top, and let's also check out a little bit closer detail. So you can see how this one is still just a little bit a ways away from the top as well as the bottom. That is how I can definitely confirm that this one will work with any type of a case, even the type of two-piece cases out there, because that is where that little additional slip is at, is on the very top, where you can see that opening gap on the top. That is where that additional second piece of cases, come into play. Now we're gonna move over into a Samsung flip case. So there's some of you out there who might be using one of these, curious on what it looks like when you have something that is, folded and opened up. And so this one is also looking just perfectly fine. It's right around the top and around the edges. And so this one right here actually doesn't touch any portion of the tempered glass. So you can see how there's a little bit of space on the bottom, a little bit of space on the top. And so the edges also is looking good. You also have this flip cover right here, preventing, any type of, scratches to happen if you have keys or anything like that, which usually when it comes down to keys and change, you will not be able to scratch your phone. It's dealing with the hardness of that metal that's actually doing the scratching, and those pieces of metals actually does not scratch your phone. So let's go right inside of here. Here's a OtterBox case. Now the OtterBox case is one that goes around the corners just a little bit more. So now you can see how also on the bottom, quite a bit of space. So you're perfectly fine if you're to get yourself the clear OtterBox case as well. And now let's move over into the very last one, which is from Armadillo Tech. This is a really nice case for protection. So we're gonna put this piece on there first. And then once you have your little outside case on there, then this is where you go through and you place it inside of the rubber around the phone. Now for me, the cases that come in two pieces are just a little annoying. It just takes a little bit too much time to place them into the case. You know what? It doesn't really add too much protection. It's just a small little piece of, plastic that goes around the screen of the phone. But really, this just kind of shows and proves that if you were to get a two-pieced little, case, it'll also work with your phone as well. So really, when it comes down over into the Whitestone Dome Glass, this is going to be your best bet of screen protection. You always want to have a tempered glass screen protector on your phone. So this way, if you were to drop your phone and the case does not save it, then you have the tempered glass layer that would protect and actually take the hit for the phone. Then you just simply take off the tempered glass, which with this one, I would suggest using a hairdryer to take it off. But other than that, it's gonna protect your phone, and then your phone will not have the crack. The tempered glass will. So I hope that you guys have liked this video. If you guys did, please give this thing a huge thumbs up. Also, don't forget to hit on subscribe. You subscribe right over here on the very bottom left-hand side. Share this video with your friends and family and social media sites. And other than that, I'll see you guys later.